What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gaming Without Parole. Sitting across from me this week and every week, the birthday boy himself, Dedra.
Hello, and sitting across from me is Brian Paul.
It's just a normal day for me.
Yeah. Well, actually, by the time you folks see this, my birthday is over.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't celebrate. And in fact, an occasion like this should go on for days.
Okay.
Send Desra some birthday love on Twitter.
Send me.
Desra.
Sure.
Yeah, and support us on Patreon.
Yeah, that's more important. But yeah, you can do that for my birthday. How about that? That'll be my birthday gift. Support us on Patreon.
For $1 a month, you can support two starving podcasters in Worcester, Massachusetts. All right, today we're going to talk about my favorite genre of game of all time. Do you know what that is?
Imaginary games.
But yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vaporware.
Imagination.
Get some cool, like, vapor.
No, there's absolutely no effects because I'm not spending an extra second to edit this. No one watches.
Yeah, this is a crazy busy time right now. We're right in the middle of E3. And which actually brings me to the first point I want to make. Last week, we talked about games with female protagonists.
Yeah, we did.
And we talked about one of my favorites, Beyond Good and Evil.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about the fact that it's almost Vaporware, the sequel.
Yeah.
And in fact, that although there was hope, Ubisoft had actually said, we are going to be making a sequel, but we will not announce anything at E3.
Those jerks.
The hell, guys.
Yeah.
Really? It was almost as if they were there specifically to make a monkey out of me. That's funny if you've seen the trailer.
You know, it's true. You know what's funny is as I always do,
mm-hmm.
whenever we do another episode of Gaming Without Parole, we come up with an idea, a concept, a title for the episode.
Yes.
I've got to come up with 3 games to discuss.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do is go on Google and go, Vaporware games.
Yeah.
Google, tell me what I should talk about. And it's amazing how many videos came up that had Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yep.
That had Final Fantasy Versus 13, The Last Guardian, Shenmue 3.
Yep.
I was like, are you kidding me? All these games are either out or right on their way.
Yep.
I don't know, Shenmue 3 is going to take a while.
And of course, there was always the Duke Nukem Forever was the Vaporware title for, I don't know, 15, 20 years almost?
And then, unfortunately, we got it.
Came out. Worth the wait.
So that's the thing, is like some of these games, we should be happy we didn't get. But other ones of these games, well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Because some of these games I own. We'll get there. Desiree, would you like to take us away with the first game?
Sure. I will go start this off with, as soon as we came off with this title, this is the game I thought of immediately. This is my white whale of gaming.
Beyond Good and Evil 2?
No. I've made peace with that. This is actually something that I am almost certain will never happen. The reason I'm saying that out loud is so hopefully someone can prove me wrong.
I like this.
But this is StarCraft Ghost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a young, more innocent Desra back in the day would go to Strawberries. Remember Strawberries?
No one remembers Strawberries.
Yeah.
That's where I used to buy my concert tickets.
Yep, and see, they had all the coming albums that were being released, and for a while, actually games that were due. And I
didn't know that.
Oh yeah. And there was like StarCraft Ghost, excellent, and it said whatever date, and then it got pushed back again, and pushed back again. Then there was a question mark, and then it was gone.
They took your pre-order. And they took your money.
They didn't.
And they said, it's coming in a month. It's coming in a month. It's coming in a month. And then iTunes existed and Strawberries closed. And you never got your money back.
Strawberries.
But
yeah,
so
this,
Strawberries. Nothing. Okay.
No, it got bought out by somebody. But anyways, this isn't the Strawberries cast. That's next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
StarCraft Ghost.
StarCraft Ghost. Yes.
If
so
I remember correctly, was that not on the console box? Was that on the box of the GameCube?
I believe so. Yeah, there was just the logo, the StarCraft Ghost.
Was it the GameCube? Is that what one it was?
Yeah. So it was actually it was announced in 2002, and it was supposed to be released for everybody. It was GameCube, Xbox, PS2.
That didn't last though.
Well, here's where things get a little weird.
I like weird.
Okay. So if you don't know what this is or was, it was a first-person shooter, sort of, stealth, sort of, action, sort of, based in the StarCraft universe. The entire idea was you played Nova, who was a ghost unit, which is if you played StarCraft, one of the coolest units in StarCraft. And the idea was to experience the StarCraft real-time strategy game from a first-person perspective. Really neat idea. I was hugely into StarCraft at the time. It was, a match made in heaven. As far as dates go, so Nihilistic Software
Yeah.
Yes. So they were the ones Blizzard actually outsourced this, and which is kind of, we'll get to it, the root of the problem with why this never happened.
Curious.
Stuff happened. Eventually, Swinging Ape took over in 2004. At the same time, they canceled the GameCube version. Because over the time of development, multiplayer and online multiplayer had become a bigger and bigger part of the game, and GameCube at the time did not have a really strong, or at all, online component. So the GameCube version got booted. Eventually, in March 2006, it was put on indefinite hold, and finally, the nail in the coffin was put in by Blizzard president Mike Morhaime in 2014. It was officially confirmed as canceled. So that's kind of some dates there.
That's a long span of time.
Yes, it is. It is. Here's the thing. There's a fantastic article, and maybe we can put a link down in the bottom here. Polygon did a phenomenal job kind of tracing through, interviewing everyone, doing all the research to figure out exactly what happened. But long story short, this was Blizzard's first time completely outsourcing an idea.
Oh.
Nihilistic Games was actually formed by a bunch of guys who were part of Blizzard and LucasArts. They kind of got together, spun off their own company, and said, hey, we really love StarCraft. We want to do this for you guys. Blizzard said, hey, we know you guys. Sounds great. Let's come up with an idea. We'll throw you the money. You just take your time to develop stuff. Sounds like a dream come true, right?
Yeah.
Not so much. Turns out when you give a development crew tons of money and no specific deadline, and even that's not so bad. But what happened were there were these constant teams. What were they called? I didn't write that down, but they would get together, and people from Blizzard who weren't even directly involved in the development of this game would get a chance to come in and give their 2 cents on what was going on. So basically, what you had was like every 3 or 4 months, they'd come and say, you know what? Splinter Cell's really big right now. Let's go more on the stealth. Oh, you know what? This game's really big right now. Let's go more on the action.
So they kept changing directions.
And the frustration among the developers were, rather than concentrating on what we have already done, they were always saying, add this. Yeah. So you got bloat, you got creep. And eventually it fell apart, which stinks, because actually in 2003, there was playable demos at the Tokyo Game Show.
Wow.
So people, and here's the crazy part, people were actually in line to play these demos while the dev team was literally upstairs with Blizzard getting fired.
Oh, that's so painful.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty awful. I mean, this would have been an amazing game, though. You had, as the Ghost, you had the same abilities that the Ghost character has in the game. So you could cloak along biological units. So other soldiers, creatures couldn't see you. Detector units could kind of expose you. You could call in nuclear and tactical strikes. And you had the EMP weapon. Also, the cool part, if you're kind of a fan, eventually at some point you'd jump into Terran Marine armor, Firebat armor. You get to drive vultures, siege tanks, the whole thing. It was gonna be pretty fantastic. Oh, and the multiplayer, because it was based on the Star Wars universe, there was your typical capture the flag,
StarCraft universe?
What did I say?
Star Wars.
StarCraft universe. Hi.
If I do that sentence over, I'll just chop it out.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. Leave it in. The people must know I'm fallible. But
they won't believe it.
There was one kind of neat twist on the multiplayer. If you played StarCraft, if you play the Terrans, they're kind of unique among the other creatures, because you can actually, if you have a base, you can lift it up and kind of fly it to somewhere else and land it. So there was a version of Capture the Flag that was actually Capture the Base. You had your base, they had their base. You had to make your way, infiltrate their base, take it over, launch it, and fly it over to your territory. Just...
The great thing here is that the cancellation... of StarCraft Ghost allowed Nihilistic to move on to bigger and better things.
Such as
the two... Okay, you know how, I say PlayStation Move and you cringe? Mm-hmm. You know why?
Well, I'm getting better.
Do you know why? There's a game called PlayStation Move Heroes.
Yeah.
And this is a game that took Ratchet and Jack and I think maybe Sly Cooper and like put them all together into like a hodgepodge of sort of mini games, and it used the PlayStation Move controllers, and it controlled like garbage.
Yep.
It was terrible, and it was made by Nihilistic.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, no more Nihilistic talk. I just want to say they were the wrong team to entrust this to.
Yeah, well, or this whole situation kind of broke them. Possibly. As people, and they just because it sounds like they just continue on with licensed stuff.
Yeah, and possibly Nihilistic isn't even the same team at this point as it was then.
Yeah, and lesson learned: why does StarCraft Ghost fail? Too many cooks in the kitchen. Simple as that. What sounded like a great partnership at the beginning, you had changes in direction constantly. Saying, "Oh, do this, do this, do this," and eventually you just can't. You can't do that with the game. You got to keep one solid vision.
Yeah. You gotta let the people who are making the game make their game.
Yeah, and it seems like I don't know if Blizzard. Oh, and there was one other small little thing that maybe stopped Blizzard from giving its full focus and attention. While they were developing StarCraft Ghost, a little game called World of Warcraft was released. So yeah, that might be part of it as well.
So the big bosses came in and said, "Can we make this an MMO?" And he said, let's try."
Well, it was also like StarCraft. Nobody cares about StarCraft anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I think my game, my first game, is, I think it's well known by people. Probably not as well known as StarCraft Ghost, but this is one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games, Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that game.
Notoriously Vaporware.
Did you know? Did you know that in 1999, Capcom decided they wanted to start porting a bunch of their games? A bunch of their like bigger known games, like Ghosts and Goblins in 1942 and stuff.
We saw some of that on the GameCom.
We're getting there. They wanted to port all these classic arcade games to the Game Boy Color, which some of these worked out real well on the Game Boy Color.
Okay.
And then they said, "Hey, let's port Resident Evil over there as well." Yeah, so Resident Evil with the pre-rendered backgrounds and the polygons in the 3D graphics. And
perfect match for a Game Boy Color.
Game Boy Color. This is an 8-bit handheld trying to emulate a 32-bit video game, which was barely cutting edge at that time, with voices and CG, all sorts of craziness.
Hard to imagine why this would fail.
Well, the developer that they handed it to, a developer called HotGen.
Okay.
They later, I think, did some Game Boy Color games, like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Tony Hawk. They did the small versions of all those things. Right. But what they were trying to do with Resident Evil wasn't create a small version of Resident Evil.
That takes work.
They weren't trying to do a top-down perspective. They were recreating the game scene for scene. I kid you not, in the same perspective, with scaling sprites, which, let me tell you something, the Game Boy Color was not real good at. And here's the thing. Mm-hmm. They succeeded.
Okay. Yeah.
What I have in my hand is a reproduction of said ROM of the Resident Evil Game Boy Color game. You can play basically most of the game. There are loose ends that they didn't tie up, so it's not beatable, but you can go in with an emulator and jump around and do the whole game.
This should not exist.
It shouldn't exist. Here's the thing.
But it's here.
They not only succeeded, they did a great job at it.
Really?
You can play through this and be like, yeah, this is totally Resident Evil. From a technical standpoint, this is an amazing game. This is something they shouldn't... this looks like Resident Evil on the Commodore 64. But they stayed true to the PlayStation 1 vision. Unbelievable. Now, the weird thing about all this is they got so close to being done that the game is so playable and ready to go to the point that I have a copy in my hands. And Capcom canceled it. Because this was the smartest move they probably ever made. Okay. Because as perfect of a translation as this could possibly be on the Game Boy Color, it's not a lot of fun.
Oh, well, that is a problem,
right? And it's not scary, and which is sort of the point of Resident Evil.
Yeah, I could see where being on that nice little 8-bit screen would kind of defang the game.
Yeah, it's just the Capcom of Japan basically said this doesn't do justice to the series. We have to let it go. But I'm glad again because they brought Resident Evil to everything. Even like the DS eventually got a version, and actually, don't get me wrong, the Game Boy Color actually did get a proper Resident Evil game called Resident Evil Gaiden, which takes place on a boat, and it's more top-down perspective. You get into battles, and it's first person, but like more of a timing thing.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It wasn't good. It was fine. So this is probably the strangest example of Vaporware ever. Where and I hate to use like it's something that people say all the time, but they were so focused on wondering if they could do something, Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
That they didn't question whether they should.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have.
And they made something that should not exist.
Yeah, pretty much. and that's it. And hopefully I can find. I know there's a lot of footage of this because tons of people have this like cartridge, this ROM. So luckily there's tons of footage up behind me. Now don't forget though, this footage that you're seeing behind me from an emulator.
Right.
Bright and sharp graphics, like nice edges and stuff, pixelated. It looks actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
that's not.
If you played on a Game Boy Color with no backlit screen and tiny little screen, you'd be like, I don't even know if I know what's happening right now. It's way different trying to play it on an actual Game Boy Color. But moving on.
So this is one that I remember hearing about this vaguely, but let's actually before I get into it, Brian, what are some of the well-known PS3 launch titles?
The original Resistance.
Resistance, sure.
Yeah. Genji,
okay.
Days of the Blade, I think,
Yeah.
right? Oh God.
And
no, Layer was later.
well, and here's the thing: like, what happened when the PS3, just like when every new console comes out, the trailers for the games that are going to be coming out for the console come out, and they look amazing.
They sure do.
It's just like, oh, this is going to be, it's going to blow out everything from the last generation and all that. And then, of course, launch day comes, and you play the games, like, not quite.
I'm so curious to know where you're going with this.
Well,
I didn't look at your list.
Here's a game that I'm going to pin its failure on the fact that it had an honest trailer.
Oh yeah?
This game is called The Fifth Phantom Saga.
PlayStation 3 game.
This was a PlayStation 3 game. Not only that, it was one of the first games to actually have any kind of trailer or playable footage for the PS3.
Oh wow.
It was like, PS3 is coming out. Here's one of the things we're going to do. Really, it's hard to find a lot of information on this because this was a first-person shooter made by a little-known development group called the Sonic Team.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, and that reaction there is the other reason why this game probably failed. You can actually see both the trailer and gameplay footage on YouTube. It exists. This gameplay footage was announced at E3 2003. And then later that year at the Tokyo Game Show, there's a trailer. And then it went poof, disappeared. I think it's because of this trailer and because of the gameplay footage, the press at the time kind of eviscerated it. They said, a Sega team, why is Sonic Team making first-person shooter? This looks like garbage. Look at all these trailers for all these other games. They look fantastic. But then when you go and actually look at the release version of those games, they look about the same as this game. There was amazing water effects and lighting effects on this. Anyways, let's get to the details of the game itself.
Please.
It was a first-person shooter, but what made it interesting was the Phantom, this really badass-looking monster thing that you could control. So basically, you're going through, you're blasting up your enemies and all that, and, oh, there's some boxes over there I need to move. I need to build a barrier. You could direct it to go there, move those boxes out of the way, while you continue doing your own thing.
Okay.
It could just, move obstacles. There were physics-based puzzles you could use it to solve. You could use it to just kind of pick things up and throw at your enemies, and apparently just straight up kill the bad guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was you controlling this other thing that would go and do things. Yeah, again, there was the announcements, the press, and what the internet didn't like it. So it just kind of fizzled away. Here's the interesting thing. Sonic Team, of course, didn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a game. It was Sonic, what was it, 2006? Yeah, Sonic 2006. There's a character named Silver the Hedgehog.
Uh-huh.
So if you remember that,
Mm-hmm.
maybe this Phantom whole thing sounds a little familiar. And in fact, Silver could do things like that. Uses telekinetic powers to move things around, throw things and all that. So what happened was the ideas behind fifth Phantom Saga. Never completely disappeared. In fact, there's an interview by one of the designers saying that, yeah, well, we used some of the ideas from an unreleased game to create Silver the Hedgehog.
Right on.
So this entirely new, and I think it was a pretty unique idea, and it's a pretty good looking game, I gotta say. Mostly because of press disinterest, gets shelved, gets put away. Sonic Team never gets a chance to dream and just goes back to cranking out yet another Sonic game.
And the worst of all of the Sonic games.
Yeah.
That's the worst one we got.
It's just, so I think with Ghost, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
With Resident Evil, they tried to do something maybe they shouldn't have. With this, they just let the press get to them, killed it, and they didn't, Sega, and I guess understandable, they don't want to take a risk. I mean, this is Sonic Team. This is their cash cow.
Yeah.
They don't want to ruin the reputation by throwing this kind of gritty first-person shooter in there and have it fail. And if the press is already saying this thing stinks, forget it. We're not going to try anything new and unusual. We'll just go back to cranking out the same old. So, disappointing.
Disappointing for sure.
Yeah.
Very, very curious because you said they announced it at E3 2003, right?
As far as the date I had there, yes.
Because that would be pretty darn early to be like showing something off for for the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to go and like find some footage of this.
Yep.
'Cause I'm curious to know what it looks like. This doesn't sound familiar even remotely.
No, it is so hard to find information about this. I want to give total credit to a guy named Thomas Baker. He's got a fantastic video on this. We'll throw the link down on that. Show him some love. I don't know how he got this information, but this guy, I mean, he hit the books. It's so hard to find anything on this, but he has a really, I'm kind of cribbing some of his theory, but I totally agree with him that, they showed an honest trailer and they got skewered for it.
Well, serves you right.
Yeah, I know.
Why would you be honest in the video game industry? Well, I got to thank EGM for this next one because it's not just it's obviously I think everybody knows about the game Thrill Kill.
Thrill Kill. My Life with Thrill Kill called? Excellent band. No, it's a band.
Okay. Are you familiar with Thrill Kill?
No.
Thrill Kill is a 1998 PlayStation 1 4-player fighting game.
Okay.
Now this is one of the first 4-player fighting games. I think one of the first, not the first, but one of the first, especially a mature-rated one that took itself seriously. We're not cartoons fighting each other and stuff. And by saying take itself seriously, this was
it's a PlayStation 1 game.
Remember when Mortal Kombat was like? Mortal Kombat. It was like, oh, just blood and guts, and it's so. But like looking back at it, it's like goofy. It's so dumb. Yeah. Well, this was made by a development team called Paradox Development.
Okay.
And being published by Virgin Interactive.
Hey.
Now, this was just trying to be so over the top, it's not even funny, right? So here's a list of some of the characters you could fight as.
All right.
Okay? You could fight as a psychopath in a straitjacket.
Not very effective for hand-to-hand combat.
Nah, probably a lot of kicking going on, headbutts. There was a killer postal worker.
Which was very topical. For you kids watching this, actually, killer postal workers was kind of a big deal back in the 90s.
Yeah, or even games called Postal.
Yeah.
It created the term postal, right? That's the thing, right?
I think it's the other way around. I think the post office guys going postal inspired the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
okay.
right.
Oh, sorry.
But it created that term.
Yes.
Postal.
Yep.
Going postal. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, a redneck cannibal. Because why not? Sure. A psychotic dwarf, and finally a dominatrix. There's another one that I didn't list. It's like some mad scientist who has like a bear claw as a mouth.
Okay.
Bear claw, no, bear trap.
So this game's way into kink shaming, huh?
Yeah.
Like crazy people, cannibals, and a dominatrix.
Right. It's so not PC. It's ridiculous, over the top.
Okay.
Right. Anyway,
shame, kink shamers.
And just to add insult to injury, here, this whole game feels like it was made by like a 15-year-old. I love it. The places you could fight in a sewer of sticks, STYX sticks.
Oh, okay.
The crematorium, slaughterhouse of flesh, chamber of anguish, and the lavatory.
The lavatory?
Lavatory.
Like bathroom.
Like where you pee.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like the stenchiest of just the bathroom.
Just the bathroom.
Yeah, you can find all these crazy places in the bathroom.
I kind of like that, actually.
To be fair, the bathroom doesn't look very pleasant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The game itself didn't doesn't play very well. It's not like the best designed game or anything, but it was innovative to get all 4 players fighting each other, because the next step was the Dreamcast, and then there was 4-player arena games everywhere. Right.
Smash Brothers.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking like Power Stone and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But but what it did differently, like than other fighting games at the time, was like it didn't have health bars, like life bars.
Oh.
It had kill meters, and so instead of like draining your health bar, as you attacked other people, you'd build a kill meter.
Okay.
And then the only way to kill somebody is when your kill meter was at maximum, you could perform a fatality on somebody. So, which by the way, that whole idea got ripped off later in life by PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Like, remember the PlayStation Smash Brothers ripoff?
Yeah.
Same concept.
Okay.
No one liked it there either. So basically the deal is that this game was basically complete. Another basically complete story. And in Virgin Interactive got sold to Electronic Arts. And basically EA said, we're not interested in publishing this.
Yep.
This is not a game we want to be associated with our brand.
Yep.
And Julian Rignall, who's the former vice president of design at Virgin Interactive, said, because he was, let's be fair, they took years of their life working on this game, and he was pissed. There's a group empowered to keep games like this falling into the wrong hands, and it's the ESRB, not EA.
Well, I mean, I can see that argument, but also EA is putting the money up, and if they don't want to do that, they don't have to.
It's just strange to be like, hey, we didn't have to pay for any development. The game's done.
Yeah.
Right? And to not just like put it out there, see if it makes any money.
But I mean, when are we talking again?
This is 1998.
So yeah, we're in the height of all this, like people getting bad press from video games. Violent video games has always been an issue, but late 90s, early 2000s, that was front page news. So I could see EA.
Right, because EA was a big enough company with Madden and everything, they didn't need to worry about it. But any other company on the face of the planet would have jumped at the chance for a little controversy to sell their game.
Yeah.
Right, so EA is like one of the few companies that probably wouldn't publish this. So the interesting part about this is that all their hard work didn't go to waste. Oh God, their hard work totally went to waste. You ever a fan of the Wu-Tang Clan?
Oh my God, really?
This game became Wu-Tang Shaolin style. It's a 4-playing fighting game on the PlayStation 1 where you play as different members of the Wu-Tang Clan.
That's so much better.
It's just as ridiculous.
That's so. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I'll go for that.
Yeah.
Is it music provided by them?
Oh, come on. Of course there is.
Oh, yeah.
This is a cheap cash.
I'm going to play this today.
Yeah. Again, 4 players. They did replace the kill meters with life bars, so it's back to normalcy. And there's like a blood code. So like kids, you'd have to put in the code. So which
I can't see RZA going for that. No.
I mean, it's their brand was on everything at a certain point.
No. I mean, I can see them going for the game, but having like the option to not have the blood. No.
The violence, I think, as a whole too. Like it's not just a blood code. It's like a sanity code.
Okay.
Or, sanitizing.
But again, we're talking about that time, so.
Yeah. Also, and like, can we be fair here? Like, my parents bought me Mortal Kombat for the original Sega Genesis.
Okay.
And before they even handed it over to me, I knew the blood code.
Yeah.
ABACABB. And and they didn't even know like what the blood code was. Except for me promising them, I promise I'll never use it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. See, on the flip side, I wasn't allowed to go over kids' houses who had Mortal Kombat.
Which is why we never hung out as kids. Right?
Yes, that's the reason why.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. That is part 1. Part one? Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Oh, no.
I feel like there's we could do a million episodes of this.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right? But listen, we still want to hear your thoughts, all right?
Right there, you.
Yeah, you. Harry, stop studying. Listen up.
Alessandro, come on.
Yeah. No, we know Alessa's thoughts. We're constantly wondering what to do to change the channel. I know some people will want it to stay the way it is forever, but honestly, I can't keep going at this rate.
Yeah.
So we need to either focus on what people want and what we want to do, or start making some dramatic changes. So let us know. We want to know what your favorite shows are on the channel. We want to know what your least favorite shows are on the channel. We want to know what would you change about every show. What would you keep watching this if this was just a PlayStation VR show? If we tackled one game a week,
Right.
Like, we are very transparent when it comes to making changes around here. We want to know what you think.
Apparently, we're very transparent.
That's gonna look so awful.
Sorry.
It's gonna be our least watched show ever.
Ooh, I have a suggestion. Everyone says Dez has no idea what he's doing. He needs to go away because he can't even handle green screens.
I didn't even notice. It's hilarious. All right, moving on. Okay, ready to do part 2?
Part 2. Here we go.
One day we will. All right, we're not gonna drag this on any longer. For Gaming Without Parole, I'm Brian Paul,
I'm Desra.
and we will see you next week.
Bye.